Good morning, students. Welcome back to you all after your half-yearly examination. I hope that you all have done very well in your examination. Students, now we will start the chapters of periodic test second. So today I will teach you chapter number 5 of your English reader book, and the name of the chapter is The Summit Within. Students, this chapter is about Major HPS Ahluwalia, who was a member of the first successful Indian expedition to the Mount Everest in 1965. When he was standing on the highest point in the world at that time, how he felt, how did he feel at that time, he has mentioned in this chapter. Okay, so let's start this chapter. Just open your book at page number 76 and see, listen to me very carefully. Of all the emotions which surged through me as I stood on the summit of Everest, looking over miles of panorama below us, the dominant one I think was humility. The students, Major HPS Ahluwalia is saying that when he was standing on the peak of the Everest, and when he was viewing a wide area from there, at that time he had arose suddenly too much emotions, and among those emotions the main emotion was of humility, meekness. The physical in me seemed to say, thank God, it's all over. However, instead of being jubilant, there was a tinge of sadness. He was thanking to God that his journey is successful. But instead of being very happy because of his successful expedition, there was a shade of sadness. And he questioned himself that why was this sadness occur? Was it because he had already done the last point of the Everest? He had already done in the climbing, and after that there would be nothing higher to climb, and all roads after that would lead him down. Was it the reason? He questioned himself. By climbing the summit of Everest, you are overwhelmed by a deep sense of joy and thankfulness. He is saying that when you are climbing the peak of Everest, at that time you are overpowered with emotions of joy and thankfulness, and it is such kind of joy which lasts a lifetime. Means, when you are climbing the peak of Everest, at that time you was overpowered with emotions of joy and thankfulness, and this joy never ends. The experience changes the person who is climbing completely. The man who has been to the mountains is never the same again. And the man who has reached to the peak of the mountain, he will never be same. Means there will be some changing in that person. As I look back at life after climbing Everest, I cannot help remarking about the other summit, the summit of mind, no less formidable and no easier to climb. He is saying that after climbing the peak of Mount Everest, when he looked back at his life, when he looks at his back life, at that time he cannot be without mentioning the other summit. And what is the other summit? The summit of mind. And that is not less difficult than climbing to mountains, and it is not too easy to overcome also. Even when getting down from the summit, once the physical exhaustion had gone, I began asking myself the question why I had climbed Everest. The writer is saying that when he got down from the peak and when his physical tiredness had gone, at that time he started asking the question to himself that why he had climbed the Mount Everest. Why did the act of reaching the summit have such a hold on my imagination? He again questioned himself that why the act of reaching to the peak of the Everest have such a grasp hold on his imagination. It was already a thing of past, something had done yesterday. Means it had done. The expedition, the climbing of Mount Everest had already done. With every passing day it would become more remote, and after that, with every passing hour, every passing day, every passing month, it would become what? More distant, more far off. And then what would remain? And he again questioned that when it would become more distant, after that what would remain to him? Would his memories fade slowly away? All these thoughts led me to question myself as to why people climb mountains. All these thoughts which were arising in his mind, it led him to a question that why people climb mountains. It is not easy to answer the question. It is not easy to answer this question. The simplest answer would be, the very simplest answer would be as others persons said, because it is there, because the mountain is in existence. It would be the answer, simple answer. It presents great difficulties. Man takes delight in overcoming obstacles. When it is the human tendency, when he overcomes obstacles, at that time he feels happy, he takes delight, he takes joy. The obstacles in climbing a mountain are physical. When you are climbing the mountain, at that time the obstacles, the hindrance in climbing a mountain are physical. A climb to a summit means endurance, persistence and willpower. Means when anyone is climbing to a summit of a mountain, it means he has the endurance, means tolerance, persistence means obstinacy and willpower, determination. The demonstration of these physical qualities is no doubt exhilarating, as it was for me also. And the display of these physical qualities. What was the physical qualities? Endurance, persistence and willpower. Means tolerance, obstinacy and willpower, determination. The display of these physical qualities is very exciting. There is no doubt. Undoubtedly, these physical qualities are very exciting, and it happens with the writer also. I have a more personal answer to the question. From my childhood, I have been attracted by mountains. The writer has a personal answer of this question, as he is saying that from his very beginning, from his childhood, he had been attracted by mountains. He had been miserable, lost when he was taken away from the mountains. Mountains are nature's at its best. He is saying that mountains are the best form of nature. Their beauty and majesty pose a great challenge, and like many, I believe that mountains are a means of communion with God. He's saying that mountains are the best form of nature, and its beauty and its dignity present a great challenge, and like many other persons, the writer also believes that the mountains are a means of close relationship with God. Mountains are a means of a close relationship with the God. Once having granted this, the question remains, why Everest? Once, if it is accepted, it is granted, then again the question remains, what? Why only Everest? Because it is the highest, the mightiest, and had defied many previous attempts. The answer would be because the Mount Everest is the highest, the mightiest, and it had made many previous attempts unsuccessful, defied. It takes the last ounce of one's energy when anyone is trying to climb the Mount Everest. It means that it would take the last ounce of that person's energy. It is a brutal struggle with rock and ice. It is a cruel, a hard struggle between the rock and the ice. Once taken up, it cannot be given up halfway, even when one's life is at stake. If once you have started the journey, it cannot be given up, it cannot be left halfway, even when one's life is at risk, at stake. The passage back is as difficult as the passage onward. Means the journey to move forward. The journey to come back is as difficult as to move forward. Both are difficult. The journey to move up is as difficult as the journey to come back. And then when the summit is climbed, there is the acceleration, the joy of having done something, the sense of a battle fought and won. And at last, when the peak is climbed, at that time there is a sense of acceleration, very exciting sense would be there, and there would be the joy of having something done and the sense that the battle have been fought and it has been won. There is a feeling of victory and happiness. After climbing the mountains, after climbing the summit, there would be a feeling of victory. There will be a feeling of triumph and happiness. Okay, glimpsing a peak in the distance, I get transported to another world. The writer is saying that when he views a peak in the distance, he was taken to another world. I experience a change within myself which can only be called mystical. When the writer views a mountain, a peak, at that time he experiences a change in himself, and the change can only be called spiritual by its beauty, aloofness, might, ruggedness, and the difficulties encountered on the way. The peak draws me to it as Everest did. The writer is saying that the beauty of the mountain, the beauty of the peaks, the isolation, the strength, the roughness, and the difficulties to its way, to the way of the peak, attract him very much as Everest had did. And it is a challenge that is difficult to resist, and it is a challenge that is very difficult to oppose. Looking back, I find that I have not yet fully explained why I climbed Everest. The writer is saying that when he looked back, at that time, he found that he had not yet fully explained why he climbed the Everest. And it is like answering a question why you breathe. Means to explain why he climbed the Everest is just like to answer a question why we breathe. Why do you help your neighbor, and why do you want to do good acts? There is no final answer possible. Means to answer that why the writer climbed the Everest, it is just like saying to answer the many questions, just like why we breathe, why we help our neighbor, why we want to do good things. Means for these questions there would be no final answer possible. Okay, and then there is the fact that Everest is not just a physical climb, and after that the writer finds the fact that the Everest, climbing the Everest is not just a physical climb. The man who has been to the mountain top becomes conscious in a special manner of his own smallness in this large universe. The person who has climbed the mountain top, who has been climbed the peak of the mountain, he becomes aware in a very special manner of his own smallness in this large universe. Okay, the physical conquest of a mountain is only one part of the achievement. The physical victory of a mountain is only one part of the achievement. It is not the fully achievement. There is more to it than that. It is followed by a sense of fulfillment, that is followed by a sense of accomplishment. There is the satisfaction of a deep urge to rise above one's surrounding. And after climbing the Mount Everest, there would be the satisfaction of a deep urge of the inner voice that to rise above the one's surrounding. It is the eternal love for adventure in man. Climbing the mountain is the eternal love for adventure in man. The experience is not merely physical. To climb the mountain, the experience of climbing the mountain is not only be physical, it will be emotional and it will be spiritual also. Okay, so students, I have taught you the half portion of this chapter. That's all for today. I have written the word meaning of this chapter. Some word meanings have been given in your book also. So write the word meanings of the book as well as on the board also. In next video, I will teach you the remaining part of this chapter, and I will also provide you the exercise of this chapter. Okay, that's all for today. Have a nice day ahead.